You have a VAC prepaid call from
Pamela Smart.
an inmate at Bedford Hills, a New York State Correctional Facility. If you wish to accept and pay for this call, dial 3 now. Hear the...
Hello? Now, I don't know if you know or not, but I'm terrified of birds. I hate birds. Okay, the night that Greg got killed, in the middle of the night, I woke up screaming at the top of my lungs that there were birds all over the ceiling. So I'm in the bed, blood-curdling screams. I don't even remember. I know that if I was screaming like that, then I had to have been hallucinating because there obviously were no birds all over the ceiling, but that I sat up and I was really awake and everything's still screaming to get them off the ceiling. That was night one. That was night one.
Terry, emergency.
Yes, emergency in 4E, Summer Hill condominiums. There's someone passed out. I don't know, a girl is hysterical in here. She just ran over. Her husband is passed out.
Do you know why he's passed out there, ma'am?
Husband's on the way. Do you know why he's passed out? No, we don't know.
May 1st, 1990, 24-year-old Gregory Smart has been shot in the head. His wife, Pamela Smart, is accused of plotting her husband's death. She plotted the murder of her husband along with 3 teenage boys. All along, she has said she would welcome the start of her trial so she could prove her innocence. Well, Pamela Smart is about to get her wish.
This is going to be the first trial ever covered live on television.
10 years prior to Survivor, a few years prior to The Real World. So no one had ever seen a television show where you watched real life play out in real time.
There's no soap opera to this. It's real stuff.
Nothing happens, and it's totally fascinating.
Litigation as entertainment was just exploding, and it exploded through this trial.
From Boston, from New Hampshire, from all over New England, and then it's national news. In fact, around the world is trying to cover this story. It is gigantic.
That all of New Hampshire, if not the nation, is inflamed at the appearance of Pamela Smart.
So, light back on.
All murders in New Hampshire are big cases, but this one certainly had some interesting features to it.
Well, I was covering Derry in 1990, and I got a call early in the morning that there had been a murder. I believe it was in May. It was a very sunny day. I had to go to the condo complex where the Smarts lived and where the crime had been committed. The word was it was probably a botched robbery or something, and there was really no reason at the time to think it was anything else. And a few days after the crime, I called Pam at her mother's house, and she invited me over to interview her. I remember she was sitting there on the couch, and the windows had big lights, and behind her she was surrounded by the flowers.
Some other things that made this case very interesting to the press, that early on, Pam Smart did not shy away from press attention, because there was some initial thoughts that maybe this was a drug deal that went bad, and she didn't hesitate to talk about how her husband wasn't into drugs and how she was defending his honor. And There was a feeling that she actually enjoyed the attention she was getting being the widow on TV.
It is now 7 days since the murder. This would have been their one-year wedding anniversary, she tells me. Throughout the lengthy interview, Pamela is composed.
Sometimes I ask myself, I can't figure out where the strength is coming from.
As we sit talking, Pamela's dog, Halen, named after the rock group Van Halen, snuggles up to her. Luckily, nothing happened to him, she says. He was locked in the basement when I found Greg murdered. She's dressed beautifully, full-on makeup. She looks hot, like she was going to a party. She told me that she had wanted to be a television news reporter. She wanted to do what I did. And she says, it's been just about 1 year exactly since Greg and I were married. I've got the top layer of our wedding cake. Wouldn't it be good if you got a shot of me, looking at it? Wouldn't that be a poignant moment in your story? I'm like, what? She's attempting to produce the story that I'm working on.
I thought she was guilty. When I watched on TV, I thought she was guilty. I thought she was pretty conceited. I remember she was sitting on the couch with her dog, and I felt, boy, she's cold.
People would start saying, well, don't you think it's kind of suspicious? Or people starting to hear things. And I was like, no, no, I didn't get that. And then it just started snowballing from there.
This is Detective Pellets here.
There was a young man killed a couple weeks ago
Right.
in his home. From what I've heard, the wife had planned it.
The night of the murder, I had to work late because I was going to a school board meeting, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock. When I was going up the condo steps, I noticed that the door looked like it was open a little bit. And then I opened the door, and when I turned on the light, I saw Greg. And the house was ransacked. I thought that it was an interrupted burglary. I mean, everyone had all these theories that were going around at the time, and that was just the general consensus. But apparently I was a suspect, so I was in the dark, and I was finding out what was going on in my life every day by watching the news. It was a month after my husband was killed. I found out that they were arrested.
You got anything to say this morning? Are you involved in this murder? June 12th, 3 Seabrook teenagers from a ramshackle working-class neighborhood are hustled into a juvenile courtroom. Prosecutors promise the state will seek to try each of the boys as adults. Who pulled the trigger in this case? You tell us? 3 teenage boys who killed Greg Smart live on the other side of town in a place called Seabrook. And it is a very, very poor neighborhood. And these boys are rough. Pete Randall, very tough looking. You can tell this kid is mean by looking at him. He's got a hateful look in his eyes all of the time. Then you've got Vance Latomy. He's got these thick Coke bottle glasses and frizzy hair. And then you got Billy Flynn, this good-looking, big, brown puppy dog eyes. He's a musician, he's a rock musician like Greg was. The only possible connection is that Pam Smart works at a high school, Winnicott High School. Every day I'm talking to dozens of teenage friends of these 3 boys. I'm starting to find out that Pam was seen with Billy Flynn a lot. Billy had talked about Pam, how hot looking she was, how gorgeous she was, how he wanted to play his guitar for her.
Greg's father's calling me on the phone. My friends are calling me. My family's asking me, who is this person? Why in the world would this person murder Greg? And we're all grieving, over the fact that Greg is dead. And I'm supposed to say, well, by the way, everybody, I had sex with this person. I so badly wanted this not to be true. I just wanted somebody to tell me that this was not true, that it was really not him, because I felt horrible.
Pam, what's wrong? How you doing?
Nothing, but I can't comment, Bill. I really can't. I'm totally devastated by this. I can't comment.
She had the opportunity to tell us that she was having an affair with Bill Flynn. and she never did. It was troubling.
The big thing about this case was trying to connect Pam Smart to the murder. And what we had was the tapes.
Pamela Smart's personal student intern at Winnicott High School agreed to help police investigators by wearing a body wire. By doing so, police were able to record a conversation with Pam Smart in which they allege Smart admitted trying to help 3 Seabrook teenagers kill her husband.
The tapes removed any possible doubt, let alone reasonable doubt.
August 1st, 1990, I woke up at about 7 a.m. and then I put on a green dress. Out of all the colors I could have chosen, it still strikes me as strange that on my last day of freedom, I chose a dress of the very same olive green colored prison uniform that I must wear for the rest of my life. I was in my office when the phone rang. I said, Media Center, and the person hung up. And a few minutes later, 2 Derry police detectives walked into my office. The lead detective, Pelletier, said, we have some good news and some bad news.
It's the shining moment for us. The line that came to mind on the way over was, the good news is we solved the murder of your husband, and the bad news is you're under arrest. Let me go back and just a little more emotion. I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is we've finally solved the murder of your husband, and the bad news is you're under arrest.
I picked up the newspaper, and there she was on the cover, I think with handcuffs on, this, the cheerleader with handcuffs on. And that's when I knew. I had decided I'm going to write a novel. It was very much the fact of having seen her on television before in this other role, the grieving widow role. Very pretty, young, blonde, former cheerleader, the kind of girl that I would have really been hated but secretly envied, and the recognition that, in fact, it was rotten, something very ugly behind it that bore no relationship to the image in front.
As we ride one wave of imagery to the next, we need to ask, A, what are we looking at, really? And B, how are we looking? What happens when you introduce electronic media, when you put a 50-inch screen in front of people?
The archetype of the beautiful woman brought down is a very powerful one.
According to police, Pamela Smart convinced her teenage lover to murder her husband.
Now, Pamela Smart offering to pay each teenager $1,000 for the murder of her husband.
She was with very little affect. She showed almost no emotion. You can impose anything you want onto that face.
It's the classic tale of the seductress who seduces these innocent young boys, and it's just the tale for the ages.
School teacher, molested this boy and had an affair with him and had her husband bumped off.
Sex, murder, teenage kids, a teacher.
Aha, I know the Black Widow story. I know the Ice Princess story. I know what that character is like. Once we've internalized our understanding of who this character is, then we search for details that confirm that understanding.
Daughter of an ambitious airline pilot, she was determined to succeed.
She's very domineering. She seemed to want to be the focal point. She wanted attention.
She was ready for her close-up and ready for the cameras.
I don't think she really thought it was wrong to kill him. I don't think she has any desire to ever accept responsibility. I think she's convinced herself she had nothing to do with it.
And especially to Billy, Pam must have looked like a princess. I mean, she was this attractive, accomplished to their mind. She must have had a huge hold on this boy.
Wow, that was a long perp walk. Can't help but wonder if they had her come in the side way to give the press, to feed the frenzy a little bit, to feed the beast. Here we are outside the courthouse, and yes, Bill Spencer.
Already, this case has attracted a barrage of media attention from all over the world.
Bill Spencer was pretty dogged through this whole thing. He got quite a bit of publicity for himself as well, and he ended up on Phil Donahue's show.
The Geraldo Show.
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Hard copy, inside edition. Everybody wants to talk to me because I've been leading the coverage in this case.
When marriage turns to murder, fatal marriages are the focus of this edition of Geraldo.
Now, the police have a recording that Cecilia, this 16-year-old confidant, made. She wore a wireless mic, a hidden microphone. Pamela told this 16-year-old girl many incriminating things.
Did you hear the tape, Mr. Spencer?
The Attorney General...
Did you hear it?
No, of course I
didn't. And you've
didn't.
made a judgment on my daughter based on not hearing that tape?
Getting into arguments with Pamela's family, which I thought might have been a little bit out of place for a reporter that's supposed to remain neutral and detached.
Any chance that the media is on a runaway stampede with this case and this woman's not getting a fair hearing?
No, I don't think so. I think the real evidence is astronomical.
This was months and months of reports of Pam doing this, Pam doing that, and it hadn't been trial yet.
The way it usually goes is you cover a murder case and you try to dig and find out as much as you can, but nobody really ever knows the whole story until the case goes to trial and people under oath start telling what happens. In this case, I've managed to tell everybody everything about this case before it even goes to trial. I mean, the whole thing is out there.
WMUR-TV presents the Gregory Smart murder case.
WMUR in New Hampshire produced a movie called The Anatomy of a Murder. And that movie detailed what William Spencer thought, resulting in the murder of Gregory Smart.
And captured the attention of the entire nation. We publicize the heck out of it, the full-page ads in the New Hampshire newspapers. Did she tell you her husband was going to get killed that night?
Yeah.
Ratings are huge.
All I want is the people who did this sent to jail forever.
This was broadcast 2 days before the jurors were selected.
And now the court is looking for 12 people who can put all of that aside and look at this case open-mindedly.
A record 300 potential jurors have been summoned.
Half of the 147 prospective jurors summoned today said they had heard about the case, so they were excused.
In the afternoon, 150 more jurors will be brought in.
Search for objective jurors continues at the Rockingham County Superior Courthouse.
I was in China and I called home just to let them know I was going to be home in the next few weeks, and my mom all excitedly said, "You've been called to the Pam Smart jury." And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Don't read any papers, don't do anything." And so obviously remained willfully ignorant of what was going on.
The trial had higher ratings than the afternoon soap operas.
So you came up here and got a hotel room just to watch the trial?
Right.
How come?
Well, I'm kind of fascinated by these trials.
The story is just so intoxicating. You can see how important it is to try to find jurors who haven't had that seed planted in it, because once that seed is in your head, you can see how irresistible that is, not to fill in that narrative in your own head.
I don't feel that I could sit there saying, yes, she did it, or no, she didn't do it, without, because I've read so much about it.
I read too much about it, and I read the whole article and the whole National Telegraph on it, and I said, no.
How do you dismiss what you've read and what you've been poisoned with for the past 6 months? I don't know. Maybe people are capable of doing that. I hope to God that they are.
Nonsense. Nonsense. You can't unring the bell. The Supreme Court has said over and over again, a juror who denies the fact that he was affected by pretrial prejudicial publicity is not to be believed.
We were hoping to place the trial in a county much like Grafton County. It was not exposed to Boston media. And Judge Gray denied our attempt. Certainly Judge Gray didn't want to let go of this particular gem. Is he sensing that this is going to be the greatest case he ever sits on? And is that going to affect his behavior and his rulings throughout the course of the trial?
Our regularly scheduled program will not be seen tonight, so that we may bring you the following special presentation.
WMUR TV station basically suspended all their programming, 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and just broadcast the trial. Also, the last 2 rows were nothing but photographers.
The trial was 5 weeks long, and I covered every minute of it. This one I took. That's Pam at trial, looking, she's very demure, but she's in handcuffs. But she's dressed up and made up, and her hair's done, and she always looked really good during the trial. But she always had a bow in her hair, and that was sort of her trademark thing. I know one of the newspapers had a daily story about what she wore to the trial.
It was newspapers plus a TV every single day. This is great.
You've got passion, you've got lust, maybe greed, depending upon who you believe. You've got some conflicting stories and a real human drama.
You've got the prosecutor that I think reminds me of Groucho Marx. You've got Pamela Smart's lawyer that reminds me of Chevy Chase. And you've got Billy Flynn that looks like Paul McCartney. I think they already had a movie.
In this type of a situation, the potential for tainting a jury was very, very high if you didn't have the protection of being able to sequester the jury away.
Sequestered means where the jurors basically are locked up in hotel rooms after the court during the day. But the reality is the cost is extraordinary to sequester jurors. So I don't think they needed to be sequestered.
You know, we didn't pick 12 angels. I mean, these people are human beings, and they're susceptible to being influenced just like anybody else is.
This is the view from the air. Not a single available parking space.
I remember not being in a complete panic because I knew I hadn't done anything. And I was in my mind saying to myself, this is going to get straightened out. I haven't committed any crime. This is a mistake. I was 22 years old. I was very naive. I had this relatively normal upbringing and normal life. I was pretty much an uneventful person. I did what I was supposed to do. I went to school. I went to college afterwards. I had a boyfriend. I got married. And life was pretty simple. I was under the belief that the only people that went to prison were people that were guilty, and that if you were innocent, it would be proven in the court of law, and that's the end of the story.
On the very first day, official day, of the Pamela Smart accomplice to murder trial.
Opening statements are scheduled for tomorrow morning.
In fact, he testified that Pamela Smart even bought the bullets.
Revealing more details about his alleged love affair.
During the afternoon after school to have sex in car, in her house, and even at a Seabrook ball field.
Went car shopping at a car dealership in Exeter. She planned to buy either a Camaro or a Trans Am.
It was the first trial in history, televised gavel to gavel. We were guinea pigs.
People are watching big time. Although I'm pretty confident we're going to get a guilty verdict, I've got to be there. I've got to hear it live. We sat in the front row that day.
Live, this is a live following the verdict at the Rockingham County Courthouse in Exeter. Pamela Smart was just found guilty.
And God and the justice system works in this society, and we are very, very happy with it.
She got what she deserved.
She's getting, yes.
I think justice was done.
I thought that's the way it was going to come out. She deserves it.
Well, did you feel it was a fair trial?
Do you think it was fair? Of course not. From the beginning, it wasn't fair.
Defense attorneys are looking at several avenues for a possible appeal. Many people believe there is no way the jury could have avoided contact with the media during the trial.
But in order to prove that, they're going to have to find out from a juror or from a juror's relatives or somebody that indeed their decision was tainted.
You know, the jury's taken a lot of rap, and I can't speak for everybody in the jury, but I can certainly speak for me. They just didn't give her a defense. I mean, I felt like when they said that defense rests its case, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. And that's not fair, because I don't believe she deserves that. And I think that the circus of the media was ridiculous. About 10 billion cameras going off, and everybody's taking billions of pictures, and which I think rots. I just think it rots.
Cameras, by looking at the courtroom environment, changes the nature of that courtroom environment. Werner Heisenberg, quantum physicist, studied microscopic particles, and he realized that those particles changed form in some sort of way by injecting energy into that system. And he comes up with this Heisenberg principle. It was an observation that the act of observing a physical entity changes by the act of that observation. The people are different as a result of being observed. There's a self-consciousness, in other words, that goes on by being part of a television event.
It was not a trial, it was a spectacle. But after the trial was over, the state of New Hampshire wanted to put her as far away as possible.
This morning, they confirmed that the convicted murder conspirator was transferred to a prison in New York State.
They woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and told me to get out of the bed, and they just whisked me away in a van and took me to New York with no notice. I was handcuffed, I was shackled. It was like this big secret, and I was really afraid. I actually thought that they were gonna kill me.
They brought into effect, for the first time ever in the history of the state of New Hampshire, an interstate compact, which they had with the state of New York, which allowed the transfer of prisoners. And for no reason whatsoever, except they could not stand the circumspection, people coming to the prison in determining for their own minds, who were interested in whether or not she received a fair trial.
Pam had a high-profile case, so everyone knew that this pretty little blonde girl was coming. The sharks were waiting for her.
Things that go on in there are not good. They're not good. And the things that happened to Pamela Smart are even worse.
From day one, Pam is a punching bag. I remember one time, they broke the eye socket on her.
Just started punching me in my face.
She still has like a metal plate in there.
Another girl came and was kicking me in my face.
Not only from the inmates, the officers too.
Pam Smart was more vulnerable than most. She was raped in prison by a guard who sold these pictures to the National Enquirer. He made up this entire pedigree where she is the master manipulator and head of a sex and dope ring and controls the corrupt guards. You know, the old story, Pamela the seducer. And of course, he posed her in a way that was very similar to the famous bikini picture. This bikini shot turned up at the trial as something that Pam had done to seduce Billy Flynn. But the truth is, she and her friend Tracy were posing for each other to enter it into a contest. The bikini photo was part of the story. The story is bogus, but the consequences to Pam are real. In about 2 weeks, I'm gonna have literally spent half of my life in prison. I have been trying to get back into court, and to this day,
I'm left to try to chip away at this avalanche of negative image that hurts me.
I only know Pamela Smart as she's appeared on television. I only know the media Pam Smart. Seeing humanity on a screen, it loses humanity. It's just, these images.
How do you find the defendant, Pamela Smart, on the charge of accomplice to murder in the first degree?
Guilty, Your Honor.
I've directed a film made for television for CBS.
Yeah. Could someone call my mother, please? And would someone get the dog?
The film was shot in the summer of '91, just a few months after Pamela Smart was convicted, and was broadcast by September. And I think it was the first, quote, ripped from the headlines TV movie. Sex with a teenager and murder. What an easy sell to television.
Nicole Kidman, my God. I was very lucky, as people go, who get their books made into movies.
You're not anybody in America unless you're on TV. On TV is where we learn about who we really are.
I wanted to be Pamela Smart, and I was writing her monologues. Did I say Pamela Smart, or did I say Suzanne Moretto? Suzanne Moretto, I'll speak of the character in my book, is a sociopath who didn't have a soul, who had really lost her soul somewhere along the line to television.
Pamela Smart is cold, flighty, and airhead, and manipulative, calculating, self-centered, tantalizing. People say, oh, that's you, or oh, I saw your movie. And it's like, this is not my movie. Nothing in here is my story. It's not, it's just their interpretation of what happened. And these are the kinds of things that help prevent me from getting back into court.
You're a cold-blooded murderer, a non-caring, no-loving... Pam, I also hope that this is the absolute last time my family and I have to look at your face.
Superior Court Judge Douglas Gray says media coverage of Smart's case did not deny her a right to a fair trial last month.
Without comment, the 5 justices unanimously denied a defense request earlier this month.
We can't make these high-stakes decisions, innocence, guilt. We can't make these decisions on the basis of fantasy. We have to be able to know what the reality is as best we can.
If you were the defendant in that case, would you think you've gotten a fair shake from the justice system? And if you answer that question, I don't know, then you should be saying to me, well, let's hear it in more detail. Isn't it time to take another look at the Pam Smart trial?
Today was the first day of the Pam Smart trial, and there was media everywhere. I felt like a bug in a glass jar. And I'm not supposed to be talking about it to anybody, so I'm making a tape. And it's easier to talk to a tape anyway. Well, today started out, the 15 jurors met in the jury room. Then we got in the bus, and off we went. So we drove Barry right into the condominium. It was nasty and rainy and cold. And half of us went into the Smart's condominium. About Pamela Smart, what did I feel about her today? She looked tiny, troubled. I just can't even imagine what she must be feeling.
You know, if you've ever been in a dream and you actually say to yourself in the dream, wait a minute, am I going to wake up from this? Am I going to reach the surface? And the opening argument One of the first things that the prosecutor said was,
that was the first time the defendant had sexual intercourse with Bill. He was a virgin, a boy, way over his head in his relationship.
15-year-old virgin. And I'm like, what? Right there. You know? What? Virgin? That was the first time I ever heard that. That, like, just told me, like, oh my God, I can see what this is going to be already.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nanette Hansen. WMUR-TV's live coverage of the Pamela Smart accomplice to murder trial is about to resume. Court proceedings are about to get underway. William Flynn, the self-admitted trigger man in the murder of Gregory Smart, has entered the courtroom.
We had Billy Flynn on the stand pretty early on in the case because we thought he could explain everything about Pam Smart, the murder, the orchestration, so the jury could have the whole story.
I didn't want to kill Greg. You know, I wanted to be with Pam, and that's what I had to do to be with Pam, but I didn't want to kill Greg.
Billy Flynn clearly came across as a kid who had fallen for Pam Smart, and without the influence of Pam Smart on him, probably never would have pulled that trigger.
Yeah, every time I talked to Pam, and if she happened to say, you know, make sure you use a gun, don't use anything else, I'd say yes.
So I'd like to call your attention to May 1st, 1990. Remember that day?
Yes, I do.
Did you go to school that day?
Yes, I did.
What happened at school?
Well, just, I remember being at my lockers, and Pam came over and told me the bulkhead door would be open.
Now, where did you go after school that day?
Well, we drove up to Derry. When we decided it was dark enough, Pete and myself taped our fingertips up, and then put the gloves, started walking towards Pam's condo, and we went down the bulkhead doors.
What did you do next?
Well, we went upstairs, Pete and I, and right into Pam's room. You know, we started dumping out the drawers and everything, so it would look like a burglary.
Then they wait. Greg Smart arrives home, he gets punched and he gets ambushed. He gets grabbed and he gets forced to his knees, and he's saying, take whatever you want, take whatever you want.
Billy Flynn was kneeling in front of the jury on the ground showing how helpless Greg Smart was, and you could hear a pin drop in the courtroom. Greg Smart never saw the gun. All Greg Smart knew was that Patrick Randall was on the other side of him with a knife to his neck, and the original plan was to kill him with the knife.
Why weren't you going to be able to cut his throat?
You just couldn't do it.
Well, when you felt you couldn't cut his throat, what happened next?
I motioned to Pete, like this, because that's where I had the gun.
What happened after that?
Pete nodded his head yes.
After Pete nodded his head yes, what did you do?
I cocked the hammer back and I pointed the gun at his head.
And what did you do next? And he didn't really want to say it, you know, and he's tearing up and he's crying, you know, Billy, what did you do next?
And I said, God forgive me.
After you said, God forgive me, what happened?
I pulled the trigger.
I pulled the trigger. You know, and then the judge immediately called a recess. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better recess to emphasize the dramatic part of the trial.
We'll be back when the trial reconvenes.
It is from Kodak. The genius is in the details.
I did have sympathy for Billy. How they got into this crazy situation is understandable. Billy was sexually obsessed with Pam.
We can't forget that she's like a grown woman and he is a child. Manipulation is is easy.
That boy touches me. Somebody who was once somebody's little boy playing Little League who got terribly, horribly, irretrievably lost.
She worked within the school system, and the fact that all of this started from the school system just says one thing to me, that this could have been anybody's kid.
I have two 16-year-old brothers, and I think she should definitely go to jail. I can't even imagine getting kids involved in something like this.
Teaches our school children. We don't need her around.
It's pretty tough sitting in that courtroom. I have a wicked back. That chair I'm sitting in is terrible, terrible, terrible. Anyway, let's see. Bill Flynn. He has like this really baby face, innocent looking, sweet as pie. I mean, he's the mastermind of this whole thing. I mean, he's the actual trigger man. He even pulled some tears in court. I wasn't impressed. Here's this kid sitting up there admitting to first-degree premeditated murder and did a deal with the state to lower his charges to a second-degree murder charge. Now, second-degree murder, as I understand it, is not premeditated. They're saying they talked about it for weeks. They had it planned for weeks. They discussed it over and over and over again. They had it all planned out, admitted to everything.
I know that when they were arraigned, they pled not guilty. Originally, they were saying that they had nothing to do with the case. My name was nowhere in it, and they ended up taking plea bargains, and those plea bargains were contingent upon them testifying against me, and they started to say, well, yeah, okay, we did this, but she told us to do this.
Once they were certified to be tried as adults because of the seriousness of their crime, that was the big turning point for them.
By taking these plea bargains and blaming everything on me, they avoided the capital murder charge would have carried the death penalty. The first-degree murder charge would have carried life in prison. And they were able to plea bargain down to a second-degree murder charge.
A well-known lawyer said to me once, if a client's gonna sing, you sing like a bird and you cooperate. There's no halfway to do it. You have to cooperate 100%.
The Attorney General's office has not revealed exactly how many years in prison William Flynn, Patrick Randall, and Vance Latomy have negotiated as part of their plea bargains. But sources close to the case tell News 9 each teen has been promised 25 years to life, which could make them eligible for parole after 25 years.
The family's outraged. The two men that went in the house and took my son away from me, coming out of the courtroom, chewing gum, slapping hands, and smiling. Who could do something like that and have no remorse?
But isn't that strange that after that, Bill pulled a bunch of tears. I would say they're crocodile tears.
I caught him in the morning, him and Pete doing lines on the desk in the room. I caught him one morning, I opened up the door and they were banging lines before they were going to testify. And he goes, it makes me more emotional. He goes, it makes me more emotional on the stand. He said, don't you know this? Don't you notice? Don't you notice? Because I used to sit there and watch the boys. When they come back in, they would watch themselves on TV and I was with them. And we would all sit around, you know, we'd smoke a bone in the cell, a joint, a reefer, or weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. We were doing everything. We were doing especially marijuana, morphine, Valiums, and the cocaine, of course. I had one way where I threw a Nerf football, had someone throw a Nerf football over the fence, and inside the Nerf football would be the drugs. The funny thing was that there would be a different color Nerf football out there every day, and the cops wouldn't even realize it. I could have got a gun in if I wanted to, but I'm not a gun person. Billy told me straight out that, listen, Rick, he says, we got to do what we got to do. And I'm not taking my boys down with me for the rest of our lives. We're not doing it.
Flynn was bragging about his testimony to inmates that he put a show on. How did you like me crying? The trial was in play when we got that information. Judge Gray denied our attempt at recalling Flynn.
It's not just one instance that was precluded from being entered into evidence. So the jury never really got the full picture of the witnesses or of the evidence. There was a fourth person. He was actually the initial one that came forward, Raymond Fowler, and told the first account of what had happened. He said that I had nothing to do with this. We wanted to obviously call him to testify, but the state arrested him.
Raymond Fowler has already admitted that he waited in the car the night Gregory Smart was murdered. But now police say 3 weeks before the murder, Fowler drove here with Billy Flynn, that he was armed with a knife and had intended to kill Greg Smart, but at the last minute, chickened out.
Day of the plea bargain, the same day as the day they charged Raymond with the 5 offenses. So he was a witness up to that point, and they turned the 3 boys against Raymond, just to have enough information to put enough pressure on Raymond so that he'd plea bargain too and be out of the picture. If you ask the question, why would it be a problem? When they took Raymond's deposition, they probably realized that his story didn't match exactly to the 3 boys'.
Did you know that Pam was going to pay them money to kill her husband? Yes or no? No. I thought they were for Bill because Bill asked him. You thought that Bill was going to kill the guy because he wanted to? He likes him. But Pamela didn't ask him to kill her husband. Oh, I didn't talk to him. Why didn't you go to the police when you knew that the guy had been murdered? Because they threatened to kill me.
If you're just joining us, this is WMUR-TV's live coverage of the Pamela Smart accomplice to murder trial. Right now, the defense attorney, Mark Sisti, is preparing to question the witness on the stand, 18-year-old Vance Latomy Jr.
We not only talked about this case at the Rockingham County Jail, but you talked about this case while you were all locked up over at the ADC in Concord, right?
Wrong.
You talk to Bill and Pete all the time.
Nope.
Did anybody ever tell you we have letters that you wrote to your girlfriend?
No.
Do you recall telling your girlfriend that Bill, or him actually, it said, him and Pete are the only things that remind me of how things were. We are always talking. You remember telling her that?
Yes. I've talked, since I've been locked up, I've talked about everything in the case.
Basically, they discredited him. You know, he is Bill Flynn's cellmate, and Pete Randall is 2 cells down, open cells. They had plenty of opportunities to concoct a story and get their story straight. Not only did they have plenty of opportunities, the cross-examination revealed that they did.
I've been doing this for 30 years, and in every single case other than one, there was an effort on the part of the prosecutors, where there are co-defendants and people that will be telling the same story and they're incarcerated, there's an effort to keep them apart. I don't understand the decision to have those boys housed in the same place and able to talk to each other.
Pete, Pam Smart didn't make you kill anybody, right?
Correct.
Fact of the matter is that on over 20 occasions, you and Flynn and Latomy and Fowler and Daly sat around brainstorming ways of killing Greg Smart.
I had never been with Daly, but yes, that's true.
Now, Pam wasn't there, right? Now, during this same time period, you were ripping off stereos from cars and stuff?
Occasionally.
Still stealing motorcycles?
Occasionally, yes.
He admitted that, on occasion, yeah, they rip off houses together, and on occasion, yeah, they rip off motorbikes together, and on occasion they do drugs and do cocaine and all kinds of things. And he admitted that, he is just a criminal. An experienced criminal.
Pete was one of those kinds of people that, you piss him off and you're going to be in trouble. He beat his stepdad with a baseball bat when he was younger. But the state wouldn't allow that in his evidence because he was a juvenile at the time.
Were you looking for a revolver? Were you looking for a 45? What were you looking for?
Something 45, 9mm.
What?
Has a clip.
What? What's the difference to you?
Me?
Yeah.
Lighter gun, smaller gun usually.
How do you know all that stuff?
I've read magazines about guns.
He was sicko. I mean, a sicko. After him came on the forensic fella. Oh, he is an undisputed expert. So this guy definitely knows his business. And he testified.
There was a single gunshot wound of entrance high up on the left side of the head, 1 inch to the left of the midline of the scalp, and 5 inches above the ear canal. The bullet passed downward and backward from front to back at about a 45-degree angle.
Pete said. Pete was in front of Gregory Smart, and then Bill, from behind, blew him away.
Standing from behind, I really couldn't do it. It would be extraordinarily difficult.
Okay, would you agree with me that trajectory and your findings there are inconsistent with a person shooting Greg Smart from behind?
While standing behind, I would think that...
If you were standing behind me, it couldn't be done. It couldn't be done.
I think that they were in an agreement that Flynn would take the blame for the killing no matter what took place. The way that I saw the case was that having the lover of Pam Smart actually do the job gave it more of an impact statement than what I believed was true, and that was that Pete did the job when they got in the house, when probably Flynn chickened out, and Pete executed him.
Fucking now, asshole, do it.
The gorgeous woman who tempts us to evil is it's Eve handing us an apple. It's a great story.
The founder of Court TV once said that trials are the most dramatic narrative that we have outside of violent combat. The idea is multiple perspectives will generate multiple stories, and in the test that is the cauldron of the adversarial process, truth will be victorious. But what happens when we're so taken with the media's distillation of the story? Is the adversarial system up to that task?
I feel like there's never been an actual story that's been told that gave it the time and attention for it to be the truth. I was never a teacher. I was the director of media services for 11 schools, one of which was the high school, which Bill Flynn and his friends attended. And we got involved in making a commercial for a contest.
Man has enjoyed the taste of pure and natural Florida orange juice. Start each day with work.
He had a crush on me, which I thought was cute, but I really wasn't interested. I was totally in love with my husband, but near Christmas time, my husband cheated on me, a one-night stand, and I was very sad. And then when Bill Flynn came into my life, he presented himself as someone who was extremely kind and thoughtful, and he made me feel good about myself. I knew it was wrong. Like in my head, I was saying, no, this is wrong. But inside my heart, I liked him. Never felt comfortable in it. So after like about 8 weeks, I ended the relationship. I certainly didn't think that he was gonna go kill my husband. Nobody really knew about the relationship. I was embarrassed about it. And the only other person that knew it was Celia Pierce.
Did you ever see any physical contact?
Pam and Bill naked.
And where were they?
On the floor.
In what room?
In Greg's bedroom.
And what kind of position were they in?
Pam was on top of Bill.
Who was Haley?
Pam's dog.
Did she and Bill ever discuss Haley?
She told Bill not to kill Greg in front of the dog because it would traumatize the dog.
Something like that. These kids couldn't make that up. I just didn't buy that.
When did you start trying to get a gun for Bill Flynn to kill Greg Smart with?
I don't know when the date was.
You had this heart-to-heart truthful conversation with the police on June 14th, 1990. Did you discuss with the police that you were trying to get a firearm to kill Greg Smart?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Very selective memory. Almost every question the defense asked her, she couldn't remember. Oh, I can't remember. I don't remember. Celia Pierce helped Bill twice trying to locate a gun to kill Gregory Smart. Does not that make Celia Pierce an accessory to first-degree murder? Doesn't it? Accessory.
She was more important to the prosecution in the toolbox than in the jailhouse. Why was she saying the things she was saying? Those motivations, quite frankly, could be frightening.
Well, Once Upon a Time Productions, as I have here, is a life story option and purchase agreement. Cecilia Pierce signed this contract for a movie deal and sells her story. This is dated September 14th, 1990. And again, right here, purchase price of $100,000.
I heard about the Pamela Smart story the same way everybody else did. I saw it on television, I saw it in the news, and, you know, it was one of those stories that everybody was talking about.
Tonight on Hard Copy, One Girl's Secret. And also, Elvis Fights Back. Cecilia Pierce was wired for murder.
She said that she was in love with Bill and she had a choice. She could either divorce Greg or kill him.
She's so perfect. If you were doing this movie now, you'd just cast her. Tim Thompson, who worked for me, took her out for ice cream in Derry, New Hampshire, to get her rights. So I remember making the joke, did you take her to Dairy Queen? And he thought that was stupid.
But she said if she divorced him, he would follow her around and she'd never have another boyfriend. And he would get the money, the dog, the furniture, the house.
You know, it took some convincing to have Cecilia wear a wire. I don't think she really wanted to believe Pam was guilty.
At first, she didn't want to believe Pam's guilt. And over the next year, she went on television again and again and again and again, proclaiming Pam's guilt.
She picked Bill out of all those boys. And he trusted her a lot.
How does this happen? If I were doing a reality TV show and I wanted to turn a witness, I would do something very similar. I'd put the wire on them. I would put them in the position of an investigator.
She couldn't get a divorce because she wanted the dog, the car, the furniture, and the dog, and she could have money.
You know what's interesting? And as these interviews progress, she gets better at this.
Pam got guiltier and guiltier. You see that happen on every reality TV show. The more provocative they get, the more their producer tells them that they're fantastic. And people would love to be fantastic.
And she'd be like, well, this is what happened today. Bill and I were talking, and he can't find a silencer. And
Here you have a kid, and all of a sudden you're part of this, one of the biggest things in television history, the first televised trial of the sensational murder. I think that she got caught up in that whole scene of, I'm important.
She's turning into a little star. She definitely liked the attention.
There's a lot of people who want that. They wish that their television show was on prime time. We were seeing the Petri dish for what's happened today. TV has gone from being something that you watch to being something that you're in. The boys and Cecilia Pierce were the first ones to get that injection.
It was attention that girl never would have gotten in a million years. You know, you would want the witnesses to be the most important players. But in this particular case, they're not playing to the true audience, the jury. They may be playing to mom and dad so that when they go home at night and they're eating supper, they can turn on Channel 9 News and watch themselves on television.
If you shift the paradigm for the trial to television, a lot of things are different. Someone has to put all of that footage together. Someone has to construct the visual narrative. I call it the God moment. The moment when you intervene, you make a cut.
What happened after that? We had sex.
You shift something
Why do you think he did it?
I just feel that someone made him do it.
And all of a sudden, you've seriously altered the meaning of that image.
She sat almost motionless as the young man her defense attorneys had portrayed as a love-struck thrill killer took the witness stand.
I feel like I want to reach out and grab a hold of her and just shake the living life right out of her.
17-year-old Sarah Thomas also testified that when she asked Flynn if he was in love with Pamela Smart, he said, "I don't know, but the sex is great."
How did you ever end up here? Came directly at me like more of a declaration than a question. I will forever be haunted by the knowledge that had I never become involved with Bill, then Greg would still be alive today. Even though I didn't pull the trigger, my bad choices helped load the gun.
How do people respond?
You were so uncomfortable in exposing that piece. You know, you said it, you showed it, you put the book up. And I was wondering, is it because you're afraid that we won't see you for who you are, that we'll be like everybody else, like the media has portrayed you, like you said, you know, this cold-hearted person?
I guess it's just because everything I say gets misinterpreted so much that, like, tomorrow's headline could be Pam Smart said she loaded the gun. You know, and like I said, I knew better. I remember saying, this is wrong. Why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? But it was like when you're still doing something and you're saying that this is wrong. So I have to accept responsibility for the fact that it wasn't like I was under some spell where I didn't know that this was wrong. I knew it was wrong.
Who is the real Pam? Who is the real Pam Smart?
Well, I'm the real Pam Smart. This is it. I'm saying I'm not walking around with a mask on. This is who I really am.
I've looked her up. I've been curious. I've looked her up. She shows up with sexy Hollywood stars and vixens. This is not her.
Billy, you're recording. Oh, sorry. First, this is Van Halen Rocks. I'm gonna show our kids this. They're probably gonna go, you like those long-haired hippie people? I'm gonna say, yes, son and daughter. For I was a medalist once also.
Yes, my darling twin.
That's the real Pam. That is the real Pam that I hung out with all the time, regularly.
Let us please demonstrate what we're gonna do when Edward looks at the sign.
She's very warm and loving. You know, she was kind of a geek, and she was always very good in school.
I was at Bedford Hills inmate education program, and I assisted Pam in achieving 2 master's degrees, one in criminal law and the other in English literature. The superintendent had become extremely hostile, consistent with the negativity that always swirled around Pam. And they took away from me my books and my pencils and my pens. So we talked, and that was how I taught her. And she had to absorb everything I told her without the books. She's the smartest student I've ever had in my 34-year career as a professor.
I felt really stupid in the face of this enormous system that had taken my life. And I decided that I couldn't really fight back without the proper tools. I wanted to understand more about what happened to me and what I could do to try to get out of here. I was fighting for my life.
On the outside, everybody they think that everybody in prison says they didn't do it. Sure, everybody's innocent. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. And that's not the case at all. With the exception of 3 women, that's out of thousands and thousands. Out of the 8 years that I served, I've only heard 3 women say that they didn't do it. So far, 2 out of 3 of those women have been proven innocent and released. The third and last one is Pamela Smart.
Swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Next witness was Pam Smart. She's testifying as to her side of the story.
You said, when you heard Bill Flynn was arrested, you say, oh my God, they heard about the affair, they arrested the wrong person. Of course, you went right to the police to straighten that out, didn't you?
No, because I thought if the police knew that I had an affair with Bill, then they would automatically conclude that I was involved in the murder.
You did everything you could to cover up your relationship with Bill Flynn.
Yes,
right?
I was.
And not only if you told the police about Bill Flynn and your relationship, that would give Bill Flynn a connection and a reason for killing your husband, right?
Right.
It would also give you a connection to the murder of your husband and to Bill Flynn if you told him about the affair, right?
Yes.
And that's the real reason you didn't want to talk to the police about Bill Flynn and the affair with you.
The real reason is the truth, which I just told you.
The jury will determine what's the truth, won't they?
They certainly will, I
Are you
hope.
afraid that they're going to decide that for themselves?
I think the jury's going to believe what the truth is.
Okay.
I believe in the jury system.
She was very believable. I know I didn't believe any of the boys because they're criminals and their stories discredited, and they've had time and opportunity and motive to build a story. And I didn't believe Celia. I think she was trying to protect her ass because she was definitely involved as an accomplice. If the police suspected me, then I would protect, like her, the fact that I had an affair with the kid who killed my husband. So there's only actually, those 3 tapes are the only evidence the state has against her.
Your Honor, I would suggest at this time that everyone place on their earphones and make sure they are on.
Secretly obtained taped conversations between Pamela Smart and Cecilia Pierce are about to be played.
The tapes clearly show she had planned the murder. She knew what was going on.
You and them, all they want to know is there anybody else that knew about this before it happened? Because if there is, then they can really bag them, you know? But that's the thing. So I don't know, you know, I mean, I wish this wasn't the circumstances. You know, I hate the fact that you have to be interested. I hate the fact that you're scared. I hate the fact that you're probably going to have to take a lie detector test. But I don't know what to tell you. If I thought if you told the truth it was going to do you any good, that'd be one thing. But it's not. If you tell the truth, you cannot change what you know. You know, you can't. And if you tell the truth, you are probably going to be arrested. And if you're not arrested, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to send Bill, you're going to have to send me, you're going to have to send JR, and you're going to have to send me to the slammer for the rest of our entire life. And unfortunately, that's the situation you're in.
Damning, or absolutely damning. You know, you stop the tape at that point and look around the room and say, can somebody find an alternate explanation of what she would have meant by that?
Tell us about what leads to the conversations on the first day. What's going on?
I mean, after the arrest of the kids, Celia was calling me on the phone, and she was very nervous and worried. And she had asked me, did I know about the murder beforehand? And initially I had said no. And then she made a statement to me that if I knew more about it, that as long as I told her that she wouldn't tell anyone, and that we had to stick together.
So what did you do?
So I figured that if she knew more about the murder, then she would tell me if I acted like I knew more about it.
I really thought that they had the wrong person, that they found out about this relationship and they jumped to this conclusion because there was no evidence, so to speak, that was coming out through a police telling me. My main thing at that time was trying to figure out, did he really do this? Because I guess I just, in my heart, I wanted it so not to be true. I wanted anybody, anywhere to give me any information that I could to help get the answer to this one question of, did he really do this? I told Greg's best friend, actually.
What she said to me was, I wonder if I act like I know something about this, if they'll say something to me.
What did you respond to that?
Yeah.
What did you tell her?
I told her not to be an idiot, but I used a different word.
Don't be an asshole.
I will never forget the tapes for the rest of my life. I usually have an Anglo-Saxon word I put between thought and tapes, but...
I called my lawyer, and he said, whatever you do, don't talk to Cecilia Pierce. She's gonna be wired. And I said, okay, and I hung up the phone and I called her. That's the truth, exactly what happened. I was not sleeping. I was overexhausted mentally and physically. Psychiatrist put me on Prozac, and he put me on a lot of it. I was both going through depressive states, and I was also going through like manic states. I just didn't care. I just wanted to know so bad that I didn't care. And then Celia Pierce would be spilling out pieces of information here and there and saying, oh, well, I heard this or I heard that. So I felt like I had to get information out of her.
You cannot change what you know, you can't. And if you tell the truth, you are probably going to be arrested. And in case if you're not arrested, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to send Bill, you're going to have to send me, you're going to have to send JR, you're going to have to send me to the slammer.
Yeah, that I definitely said. Because I was talking to her about the affair, and next thing you know, it's on a big poster board saying, like, oh, she was talking about the murder here. And I'm like, no, I wasn't, because there were pieces that were before that or after that that are gone. And conveniently, and there's this whole section on the transcripts, and it'll say inaudible, 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 and then here comes this line out of nowhere or something. And it's like, wait a minute. Well, what was all the inaudible stuff?
Last I heard, Spencer does not have the transcripts yet. They are not out yet. Repeat, not out yet.
What he's using for testimony ain't gonna happen at any cost.
The quality was just so bad. You could only hear words every other or every fifth word you could hear. The rest of it's garbled so much. You can't really tell what she's saying.
If you're going to consider listening to a conversation and all you are able to hear are bits and pieces without knowing what else has been said before, in the middle, or after, what you hear is not necessarily a reflection of the truth. It's simply a reflection of the little bits and pieces that you heard.
These were told to me at the time to be a very significant piece of evidence, and when I first listened to them in a car ride with my co-counsel, I was extremely depressed because you couldn't make out heads nor tails of what was being said, and I really thought they were going to be useless until we hired an enhancer, an expert out of Connecticut who actually took the tapes, got rid of the background noise, enhanced the sound, where you then could actually sit down and hear what Pam Smart was saying and what Cecilia Pierce was saying. But that was very painstaking because you had to listen to each word 4 and 5 times before we can get an accurate transcript.
The person who prepared the transcript, by the way, whose qualifications to do so, I don't know. In most cases, you would want a qualified audiologist to do this. But this stenographer tried to figure out what was said.
Nobody told me you were pissed. And then she said that. Wait a minute.
Did you see what had happened? Wouldn't you rather have just divorced Greg? Well, I don't know, Nothing was going wrong until after they told Ralph.
Those transcripts become taken as gospel and then treated as if they were the tapes.
Remember that time you let Bill use your car to go up there? Where? Up to your house? Yeah. Well, that time, if they hadn't forgotten directions, he could have killed Greg then. I know.
Pam said this, then Cecilia said this, then Pam said this, then Cecilia, like that's how it looks on paper. When someone is talking, the other person is saying, okay, yeah, whatever, but on paper, it looks like he makes a statement and I say, oh, yes.
What does Cecilia Pierce say? If Raymond hadn't run his friggin' mouth off, this would have been the perfect murder. What does the defendant say? Right. She says, he's going to say you knew about it beforehand, which is the truth. Right.
And look, let's not lose sight of the fact that none of those issues of the enhancement were the subject of expert testimony on behalf of the defense at the trial.
At the time, my attorneys had told me, well, if you want to get a tape expert, that's going to cost like $15,000. And I was struggling to pay them as it was. This wasn't an instance where I was some kind of celebrity client that could have, a dream team assembled to help me point out everything about the evidence, and I couldn't afford it. I could not afford it, like many people can't when they're up against the criminal justice system, and I wasn't able to get a tape expert.
The tapes were contradicting. It sounded, incriminating. But if you believe her story, that would explain the tapes. I'm not saying I believe it, but it's a possibility. Now, Pam doesn't have to prove she's innocent. The state has to prove she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that creates a big doubt on the one piece of evidence that would get her. Somewhere lies the truth, and we're never going to know really what it is. Tough call. You are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
All rise.
As of 2:32 on the afternoon of March 20th, 1991, the fate of Pamela Smart rests in the hands of the jury.
Normally, it would just be 12 jurors judging. Now, it's all of New England. Everyday people are making up their minds, who's guilty, who's innocent, and they're focusing in on the key characters, who they like, who they don't like.
I think she's a very cold person, and I think she's guilty as all get out.
For weeks, the jurors had gone home every night after testimony.
Did they go home and watch coverage after the fact on the evening news? Maybe, who knows? Did they read something in the newspaper? Maybe, who knows?
The jury should only hear evidence that's admissible. It shouldn't be watching videotape of the victim's parents praying at the grave of the victim.
We visited the grave this morning and spent 10 minutes crying before we came here.
And praying.
And praying to God that justice is served.
And it shouldn't know what the people out there think the result is going to be.
Yeah, she was too much of an ice woman. Had no emotion. For no emotion, you have to be guilty of something like that.
And the headlines on TV, on radio, all predicted that Pam would be found guilty of the crimes of which she was charged.
Most of what was in the press and most of what was in the TV are just replays of what happened during the day in the courtroom. So there was no polls going on. We think she's guilty. We think she's not guilty. Call in how many people think she's guilty. I mean, there wasn't none of that.
Do you believe Pamela Smart was involved in the plot to kill her husband? For yes, press 1.
The jury shouldn't go into that box wondering how and whether they'll be made to look like fools if they come to one result rather than the other, whether they'll be able to speak and hold their heads up in their community. They ought to be making an independent judgment, not reflecting what the rest of us think.
In any notorious case, when the very fact of the charge implicates some profound taboo, the usual burden of proof, my client is presumed innocent, is off the table. The Pamela Smart case clearly is evoking a degree of taboo, titillation, the abuse of power. You can arouse that titillation and come out with a completely clean conscience if you can condemn the source under the rule of law.
Part of a good story is a good ending, and we think she did it, and we like that she did it, and we like that she got caught.
Guilty, Your Honor.
Kill the bitch, lock the door, throw away the key. I feel good. I feel good. Justice was done.
She pays for our sins.
The verdict has been reached in the Pamela Smart trial here in Exeter. We have carried live coverage throughout this trial, and I think we can say we were the first to tell you that the verdict was reached at about 1:15. The green light went off, the bailiff went running in, the parties were rounded up. Baron Peacock, the head bailiff, came out to bring that verdict. I know the verdict to tell people to get in. Now we're going to go upstairs. We have a courtroom shot, I believe. We are waiting to bring you the verdict live.
The jury is entering now. We've just seen the defendant and her lawyer stand. So we know the jury is now returning to the jury box.
As soon as they are in their places, we know we'll see the entire courtroom rise.
Honorable court will rise.
We just heard Judge Gray is entering. He will be asking for the jury's verdict on the charges.
Defendant, please rise and face the jury. Madam Court Lady, you please stand. Has the jury reached a verdict on each of the three offenses charged?
Yes, we have.
On case number 90-1371, which charges the defendant with the crime of accomplice to first-degree murder, how say you, is the defendant guilty or not guilty of the offense charged?
Guilty.
Pamela Smart, on indictment number 1371, charging you with the offense of accomplice to first-degree murder, on the jury's verdict of guilty, and in accordance with the mandates of our state legislature, I am required and do hereby sentence you to the New Hampshire State Prison for Women for the remainder of your life without the possibility of parole.
I don't need the world to tell me that if I never had a relationship with Bill, Greg would probably still be alive. I know that myself. Whoever thinks that I don't know that every day of my life is so wrong. Is so wrong.
I think a lot about what my life would be like if this had never happened. Would I have children right now? What would our life be like?
The great injustice to me is that she's in jail forever, and the kids who actually perpetrated the crime will get out of jail. By sort of any measure, that's not fair. But that's, again, the way the system works. So the system did what the system does.
Her sentence is life without the possibility of parole. Even Charles Manson doesn't have that sentence.
This is July 1991, and the trial is all over by 3 or 4 months. I had no idea, and I'm not the only one, because the judge came in, sentenced her. It's mandatory in the state of New Hampshire, life in prison with no parole. And I'm telling you, not a dry eye in that jury room, and that's God's honest truth that I saw. And even the ones who were like arguing adamantly that she's guilty. I mean, there were 3 of us who argued adamantly that she wasn't, and I was one of them. But life with no parole, that's forever. That's not fair. And I really believe that I would have hung that jury, because I was damn close to doing it anyway, had I known what this sentence was going to be. I'm not responsible for what I was to consider as evidence. I had no control over evidence that was given. I believe there's so much that no one knows, and we'll probably never know.
If you want to get more specific.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, this summer there's going to be some incredible stuff coming out, but I want the attorneys to release it, not me. I think Fowler will tell us what happened when his parole is done, and new information will come out. We'll leave it at that.
Raymond Fowler's family, including his brother, has said for many years that the state wants him to stay silent. And I believe that even at one point on his website, they had some kind of quote saying that if he spoke, he would blow the case against me wide open.
She's like you, been claiming her innocence to this day. Do you think there's any validity in that?
From what I've seen, from her actions is, I believe that her getting found guilty is right. I remember being in the plaza. I remember being there the month before. So it kind of clicked in my head of, hey, wait a minute, you know, looks kind of familiar. Billy came in and said that this girl said we could break in her house and take whatever we wanted to, and he wanted to have her husband get killed or something. And I wasn't really listening to too much of that. I was thinking more of just breaking in the house. And Billy says, come on, we gotta go do that tonight. So I went with him, went over to, went and kind of picked up Pam's car, or Honda CRX. I didn't know anywhere where I'm going, where I'm at, nothing. So he told me to pull in the plaza, and Billy just said, oh, we can't do nothing, he's home. So got back Hampton to the media center. You notice in the testimony, he said that we waited outside in the car and she come out. But in the movie, they're showing us walking inside of the media center. And if you listen to what she says in here about saying hi to me, this is what I said happened.
Hi, Raymond. So did you do it?
This is your version of the story.
To a point. I mean, I didn't go inside of the media place. We picked her up. She get in the car, I get in the back. And she would literally just kind of flipped right out on Billy, screaming at him, swearing at him. What do you mean you got lost? And she says, did you get a gun? And he says, no, we got a knife. And she said, a knife? I told you I didn't want it done with a knife. You know, it's going to be a mess and it's going to ruin all my furniture. And she said, that's it. You know, that's it, no more or something. And Billy said something and she cranked the radio up and I heard her yelling back and forth to him. He was begging her. I could hear them, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I could see them, like, going back and forth. But she had the radio so loud, that's all I heard was, like, I don't know what it was, Van Halen or something that she had blasted in a stereo. And then she dropped me off and then drove down. I guess she took Billy home, dropped him off. But I know she was pretty pissed off.
I'm not sure why he would say that. I'm a little confused because it contradicts his own previous statement.
You thought that Bill was going to kill the guy because he wanted to, but Pamela didn't ask him to kill her husband.
I don't know. I believe that was just actually a scene in one of the movies.
It is extremely possible that Raymond Fowler could come to believe that what he saw in the movie was what actually happened. He can even believe that, yes, I remember testifying, that I don't remember her saying that. But I now realize that I have come to remember this. And like all memories, sometimes you forget them and then they come later on. And this is what has happened to me. And not realize that it was the media that implanted this memory.
No, because I know what happened. And that will always be in my head what happened. But I do know that I remember the movie like it was yesterday. Like, I can tell you every part of the movie.
Now what the hell happened out there?
I told you, Pam, we just got lost is all.
You expect me to believe that?
An eyewitness testimony is extremely unreliable. And people can be extremely certain and be wrong. Not only do memories decay, but they get transformed, and you can actually remember things very, very differently than they actually occurred.
For me, the Pamela Smart movie blurs with the Nicole Kidman movie. So now in my memory, I'm not sure what I remember from the actual case and what I remember from the Van Sant movie.
I'm not worried about being true to the facts. I want to tell a great story. And I get so into the story that I really do forget what actually happened and what just happened in my version.
Let's just check one fact while we're... Okay. Teach Me to Kill, the Steve Sawicki book. He was formerly People magazine. Whenever I have to prepare for an interview, I like to call that my Bible. We'll go back and it refreshes my memory about things that happened during the case. Sometimes the memory fades with time, so.
They had all gone through the looking glass, the judge and the jury, and the defense and the prosecutor and the kids and Pam and Cecilia. They'd all become the movie.
I'm not sure if I put this in, but the judge said in the trial that he hoped Clint Eastwood would play him in the movie.
It was reported reliably, and it's never been denied by Judge Ray.
MSNBC, Discovery. By my count, this would be the 7th show that I've been personally involved in it regarding the Pamela Greg Smart homicide. The good news is we've solved the murder of your husband. The bad news is you're under arrest, so stand up and put your hands behind your back. I think I'm even quoted in the IMDb board now, as that's my quote.
It's really rare to find someone who doesn't want to be on a TV show, to act the way that you want them to act, or to act the way that they think you want them to act.
As soon as I walked in the room today, I felt a tremendous amount of shame.
Just hours ago, 3 boys, all of them students at Winnicott High School.
I mean, you talk about surreal. The screenwriter tells me, we're casting actors to play you. And I thought, an actor's gonna play me? Everything I'm saying right here is ad lib. The director told me just to talk to Helen Hunt. You look absolutely beautiful.
Everyone concerned with Pamela Smart's trial was caught up in a black hole of media attention.
This is in hindsight of 20 years of exploiting it, as you were doing. We exploited her.
And that's what we do. But you know what's interesting? My job as a television movie producer, creating a television movie for an audience that has to understand it in very simple terms, is probably very similar to what a defense attorney or prosecuting attorney has to do for a jury. They have to simplify it for them. This is the bad guy, this is the good guy.
It's all about manipulation because victory is about manipulating emotion, thought, identity, a sense of truth and justice. And all of that is the product of wrapping someone in a narrative.
I think that as a society, we judge people based on their stories. And when someone has a compelling story and they're great at telling it, they get the benefit of the doubt. And when someone has a story that doesn't quite fit together, as most stories don't in reality, and they're not good at telling that story, they get the short end of the stick.
So at its highest level, you have competing Shakespeares portraying characters in stories that may or may not be true. And of course, justice might miscarry. If we wanted this defendant to be something maybe different from what she is. Which one of these Pamela Smarts is real?
She's right, it's not her movie. It's our movie.
I've been fighting for over 2 decades. I'm always fighting to, get out of here. It gets tiring, it gets exhausting. But I realized that if I let go of the fight, then they won. And if I let go of hope, what do I have? Hopes and dreams are the air that sustains me every day. Last week, I lost my ID, so I went to get a new ID. And when I was taking the picture, all of a sudden, I just started smiling. So the officer, he said, well, why are you smiling? Who smiles for the prison picture, right? And I said, well, I'm smiling because this is the last one I'm ever going to take. And he said, why? And I said, because I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. What a great movie it'll be if I get out, right? You will just have the greatest footage in America and get, me coming out of the door, leaving the prison. And, oh, God. Yes, that's it.